Got a lot of irons in the fire today. I just spent the last hour or so moving things around down here in the cow pen because we got all the cows up onto pasture now, and we had two situations happen. One, the hose for the trough got left on and turned everything back here into soup, and then we got bombarded with rainstorms that kept it soup. We got the cows out of here, put them up on pasture where it was better ground and drier. It's going to take forever for that to dry. This ground just doesn't let go of water once it's got it. It sits there and stays soggy and soupy and nasty. So I got to bring the excavator in here, take the soup layer off of the soil back there. There's a little bit of manure and stuff in that, but not a lot. Mostly down to dirt, so I need to re-scrape all that. And these shavings and little remnants of hay and the poop pile right there from feeding, gather that all up into a big pile right here in the center. I just wanted to get it piled up so that it can start breaking down and the moisture can start draining out of it and get the moisture to evaporate and get out of here. This ground will stay this way and it'll be stinky and nasty and there'll be flies, all kinds of things, and it's close enough to the campsite. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want the campers to have to deal with that. So need to get it cleaned up and readied so that we can do some repairs and checking and figuring out how we're going to reconfigure this. But for today, my plan is just to get it scraped up and pile in the center, just so that it's all gathered up and we can get that crust formed and breaking down, and we can get the moisture drained out of this ground and get it draining. With all this hay remnant and straw and shavings and things like that all sitting here, all these fibrous material staying here in the mud and soup, it's just going to trap that moisture and keep it locked in there. So it'll take so long for that to dry out if I don't gather it up. Plus, if I get it gathered up and piled up, it can start composting, and I can turn it a time or two and get it composted good, and we can get it out of here and up onto something usable. So got to do that real quick, and then we'll get on to other things. it's done. It's better. This was really soupy back in here, so I was able to get all the soup scraped out of it. This is the native clay dirt stuff. So I'm a little lower than I probably wanted to be, but I'd rather get it out of here and get it clean and drying out. This one's got a little bit in there, but it's mostly down. You can see the brown clay, the tan colored clay in there. So we're down below and everything's out. Piled it up pretty hard and firm. I kind of mixed it as I did it so that it would incorporate the dry stuff with the wet stuff. This pen's going to get redone. When we first put it in, we put it in quickly. We put it in to house pigs to raise them, and it worked really good for the pigs. And then in a pinch, we had the pigs moved up. That was never built for pigs. That was built for ruminants. So it just isn't built the same way, and the pigs are a little bit complicated and a little bit more of a problem up there than they were down here. The ruminants, we ended up down here over the winter, and that was a bigger problem than it needed to be because this was never built for animals reaching up over the top of this fence. This was specifically designed for pigs. That's why we put 2x12 reb boards where they won't get up underneath it. We had this netting in here just to keep them in and keep them from running through the wire, through the fences and over and out and being out and about. And we did it basically with whatever we had. I had a handful of posts. These square posts are some that we had kicking around. They're not very good posts. They're pretty soft pine. And so I put them in. I spent money on the shed over here, and I think I was, I don't know, $1,500, $1,200 in all for the materials to build that. We thought we were gonna get some pigs and maybe breed them for another piglet set and just raise some to butcher them, but we decided we really enjoy having the pigs around and want to kind of keep doing that. So we need a better system. We probably are going to end up pulling all this fencing and posts out and actually spend a little bit of money on it and do it the way that we feel like it needs to be done, so that we aren't just having pigs in it 6 months a year, but that way we can have pigs in it year round. Okay, on to task 2 for the day. We have 5 American filbert or hazelnut shrubs, bushes, trees, whatever you call it, that have got to get planted. They've been out here on the patio for the last 2-3 weeks, been hardening really nicely. They look great, and they got to get in the ground. We figured out the perfect spot for them, and that's right up there on the hill where we just put in that fence. We got about 65 foot from corner post to corner post across there, and a nice slope with 5 plants. I was just researching a little bit more detail about them, and it says to plant them about every 10 feet. That's perfect. So we're gonna get them in the ground up there. I'm gonna go up there with the big I-beam blade and refine it just a little bit more. I've already done it once and it's pretty good. Now the surface is nice and loose and dried up pretty good, so I'm gonna just butter that off a little bit more with that and refine it just a little bit more. And then I'm gonna use the smooth blade 48-inch bucket to kind of shelf out a little pocket for each one to plant in. I don't want a big dish there. I still want to keep that slope sloped, but I want enough of a dish there that I can plant it and allow the water to pool up to get it established and get the roots going. The benefit is that we're going to put drip lines, little like drip emitters, to water all these, and we're almost the perfect elevation up there to be right in that 18, maybe 20 pounds of pressure from our water tanks at the line. So we're at the perfect pressure zone to use drip irrigation without having to put in a pressure regulator for the drip system. I'm gonna get that prepped and get up there and get those shelved so we can get these 5 in the ground. looked up the plant spacing and stuff for these. It was saying about 9 to 12 feet. So I lined them up with my posts because for any of you that saw that fencing video when we installed that, I spaced those posts at 11 feet to get an even balance between the corners. So I'm right at 11 feet between them by lining them up with the posts. That worked out pretty quick. Leaving just a little bit of a dish around the base of these so that if we get any heavy rain or anything like that, it'll allow that to pool up and kind of collect like a cup, pool up the water there and let it slowly soak down deep into the root. So for now, I'm going to put in a drip line on here with emitters, and I'll probably just hook it up to the hose for now until I get the rest of the irrigation plan put together. I can at least run the hose and connect it, turn it on, and leave it for an hour and let everything soak in slowly. This ground is very clay-based feeling, and so it has to take the water real slow. Give it too fast, it just runs off the surface. Okay, those are planted. I think I'm gonna go grab a little bit of hose and some emitters and just lay it out here so that I can get these watered up. I guess I want to get these watered up initially, and I don't really want to flood them with a hose and try to get them to take water that way. The ground's pretty moist, so it's not too bad. And I had them sitting in a water bath, soaking up a big heavy drink before I transferred them. They'll be okay, but I want to just put it in now and be done with it for now. So I'm gonna go find some hose and emitters and get that put into place and get the hose connected to this so these can start getting watered up real good. Took me a minute to kind of round up whatever things that felt like I was going to need. So it's just 1/2 inch poly. I got a little hose end fitting screwed on the end of that for now. I'm going to leave it a little bit long out on this end. One, so it's easy to get to with the hose and gives me room to work with how much I need to get to wherever I'm going to go eventually. I don't want a big old loop out here to just get damaged. But I'll leave it a little bit out. Just string this out to the uphill side. Probably just going to kind of lightly bury this line. So probably just lay it in and kind of rake it over. Just enough of something to put it in. want to leave a little bit of a tail on the end of that before I cap it. That way, if I decide to add anything at the bottom corner there, I can just put a little slip union and extend the hose a little bit. If this had a need for more emitters than 5, I would have probably made a loop. That way it can kind of balance the flow to each one a little better. Okay, I put 1 gallon per hour, 4 liter per hour emitters on there. I know from experience that this ground will accept that rate, and this way I can turn it on just with the hydrant there, and then I can set a timer on my phone for now at that given rate based on 25 psi, obviously. They're all work good. Our tanks are about just at an eyeball, maybe we're about 20 to 25 feet lower than the bottom of our tanks. And gravity feed is 0.433 psi per foot of elevation. That's head pressure. So at 25 feet down here, we should be at most 10 pounds, 12 pounds, something like that. So we're in a good pressure zone for drip to be directly off the main. So that's good. I'm gonna set an hour timer. Let those soak up with a gallon slowly. And I can do that every day for the next couple of days and get those soaked up nice.
Weeder of the family.
Yeah, you are the weeder of the family.
I
would like to put a cover crop in there.
Yeah, not a bad
for
idea.
now.
What would you like, you think?
I don't know for sure. We got like a ton of like sweet, like sugar snap peas and a ton of radish seeds. And I think we could probably plant those in here and rake them in. The only thing is we're gonna have to sprinkle to get those to start out and get growing, and then we'll have to sprinkle up here. And that's more complicated than these nice little emitters.
Oh, I like it. I like how it drips slow.
Yeah.
Man, this soil, it looks like it's got everything you could possibly want, except it doesn't.
It just don't.
It just don't.
It's such a strange challenge.
Yeah, it is, huh? You like go, oh, we're gonna have like the best season of the year, and then you can't even grow columbine. I already complained about that in another video. But yeah, that's great. I like how slow that goes. Yeah.
So it's 1 gallon per hour basically is what it's rated.
9 feet tall and 9 feet wide. Oh.
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Yeah. And so top of fence to you, to the push, to each one is about six feet. To the top of the fence up here.
This is
from where they're at.
I like how you did the hose.
Yeah.
Covered.
I thought it would be best just to cover it, to keep it in place and keep it just kind of protected a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
At the end there, I've got an extra like 2 feet on that end with a cap in the end. So if we don't have much room over here, but if we do continue right down into the corner with anything, we can extend that a little bit. I just didn't want to leave it long and then have it just there to be damaged.
How do you feel about me throwing in some daffodils?
Up here?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think of white instead of the yellow?
That's fine.
Big white ones, because I don't have a whole lot of those. But I think this will look cool because this is gonna put out, they say, a white flower or pink flower. I don't know. Both. Yeah. So I think you have
it's like a red brown.
Yeah.
Kind of flower that's a male. Whatever it is. There's 2 flowers, the male flower and the female flower on each plant.
Yeah.
So
then I think that it would look really nice to get some white daffodils.
The way that I read it, those flowers come on late winter, early spring. So they will start to hit before all the snow is probably gone.
Cool.
They'll start to come on.
Yeah.
Something like that, if if I read it right.
Yeah, and what our
And then, yeah,
place does.
and then the daffodils will probably be breaking ground by the time those blooms are on.
Yeah.
Something like that, and then you'll have some daffodils.
And it would just be a really pretty green and then
I think
blossom.
along the frontage, because they'll probably stay put there.
Yeah, I think right here on the hill, if anything, I'll start breaking up my climbers like phlox and that white one. What was that one called? The white one that I really like. Okay.
We looked it up. I can't remember it. We put it on the video. But yeah, I think let's put some stuff in here that will grow in. That
give some soil, some nutrients too for it.
The hard part is going to be trying to get it to take, just because we're going to have to sprinkle it in order for it to take if it's seed. If it's plants, we can put them in, but unless they're perennial, there's no point in putting them in and putting an emitter, a drip emitter.
Your pressure off the water tanks is kind of low over here.
It's extremely low.
Well.
So that's why there's not enough pressure to run any kind of an impact or a gear drive, but you can run like a fountain sprinkler.
Okay.
But that's just, so we've got enough of a shelf there that you can kind of walk on, but even trying to drag, the hose doesn't come, even if you got the bigger hose and brought it down here, it'll still be difficult to get it to come start in. Now bulbs, no problem, because they're permanent and they come up with the spring moisture. So
yeah. Okay, well, we'll figure
it
out.
We'll figure something. I'm not really concerned about the erosion. We're past, it's a very rare occasion in the spring that we get a heavy, hard rain that comes on all at once and wants to wash anything.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be happy. I think they were probably like, get me out of the pots.
Get me in the ground. They were a little bit root bound, but not too bad. So.
Okay, well, cool. Yeah, that looks great.
I love it.
I do too.
Great.
Good idea.